All right, so this week I'm trying something new. I'm trying these Veggie Egg Cups. I asked my daughter to look through our cookbooks and see what new recipe she wanted to try. And she said she wanted to try these vegetable egg cups. So I'm giving it a try. It is, I cut the recipe in half. So it's 6 eggs, half a cup of mushrooms, half red orange bell pepper, 1 green onion, and then homemade salsa. Hey, glad you could hop on. Yay, my video's working. Okay, so what I've done here is mix it all up and then just put it in this little oven, this little muffin pan, and I'm gonna get ready to bake them here. It is 375 for 15 to 20 minutes. So if you're interested in this recipe, let me know and I'll put it up. This is just something a little extra that I did that I'm not going to eat, but it's for my daughter. But anyway, the recipe calls for some salsa, so I did add salsa to half of them. And I just picked up this fresh salsa in the produce section of the grocery store. I recommend, if you can, getting more of the pico de gallo type of salsa because there's no added sugar. So this is just tomatoes, onions, peppers, lime juice, cilantro, a little bit of salt. No added sugars, no added preservatives, anything like that. All right, so next we have the salad dressing. So I really like to make my own salad dressings because they're good and because I know what's in them. So this is a balsamic vinaigrette that I've made. I'm not sure if this is the exact recipe that I posted in the group. So I have 2 different balsamic recipes, but this one in particular is just olive oil, balsamic vinegar, lemon juice, Dijon mustard, and honey. If you can get honey in the raw and your local, a local one, that's really good because it'll help with your allergies and you're supporting your local business, right? Raw, unfiltered honey is best if you can. So what I like to do is just pour everything in here and then I just whisk it up. Super easy. I save bottles that my red wine vinegar comes in because I reuse them for my dressing. So the reason why I like the measuring bowl is I can just pour it right in there. So I just take a piece of tape, nothing fancy, and write what it is. All right, so that is my dressing. 2 tablespoons of this will be 1 serving of your healthy fats. So if you're gonna be eating a salad next week, you can give that a try. All right, so next up is, my veggies. So this is actually just frozen broccoli that instead of boiling on the stove, I like to use my steamer. Steaming vegetables will help with actually keeping the nutrients in the food versus boiling them out of the food. So this is an electric steamer. I wanna say it was maybe $20. So the water just sits down here and then you have your basket here. So I just throw the frozen broccoli in there, put the lid on, and it takes maybe 10 minutes or so, but I've done that ahead of time. So I'm actually gonna use this with some ground turkey as a meal, and then I could even throw on some of my salad dressing for flavor. We're gonna get to the ground turkey here in a minute, all right? So use this for your veggies. I've also used to steam my sweet potatoes in here. I'll show you about that in a second, but you can do veggies, sweet potatoes, and then you can also do quinoa or rice. It comes in this little basket here. So it's generally about like, we'll say a cup of brown rice to like a cup and a fourth of water. You put it in here and you steam it. It's maybe 30 minutes or so. I have already made my mix. I like to use this on top of salads. This is just brown rice, black beans, and corn. And about a half a cup of this will be a serving of carbs. I put cumin and paprika and some chili powder in here for some a little seasoning. So I'm gonna use this and chicken on top of my greens for my salads. All right, so I've used this steamer forever, and actually this is my second one. My mother-in-law gave me a steamer for like a wedding gift or a shower gift or a Christmas gift or something shortly after we were married, and I burnt that one out. So I have this one, and then after I bought this one, shortly after that, I was gifted this Instant Pot. So this is like a pressure cooker that cooks your meals in a fraction of the time. I just saw a post by a friend who put a whole chicken in there with, I think she said, a cup and a half of water or vegetable broth, and the entire chicken cooked in 25 minutes. So I'm really excited to try that. But right now I have my sweet potatoes steaming in there right now. So essentially it's just a basket or whatever you want to call it, a container, a bowl, and you fill it with water, and then there's a rack where you're going to set the glass dish of the diced the diced sweet potatoes. I'm steaming them for about 18 minutes, and I'm going to use that as a healthy carb with my eggs. So every morning I love, if you've been in my group for a while, you will have seen that I kind of eat the same thing for breakfast every day, but I really love it. It is 2 eggs, a half a cup of those sweet potatoes that I'm steaming, and some veggies. So I use coconut oil, and coconut oil is a good high heat oil because unlike olive oil is good for dressings or a low heat, medium low heat oil. The coconut oil is actually a good high heat oil because the molecular, state of the molecules in the coconut oil are not compromised. Whereas if the olive oil was, it would be, and that's where those free radicals happen. So that's why we like the coconut oil in my house. So I heat up the coconut oil, and then I throw in some diced onions. Always diced onions. Sometimes some mushrooms, and I'm not fancy. These are just canned, and I just cut them up into smaller pieces. And then once that's going, I throw in some kale. I do rinse my kale and then break it apart into little pieces. So after the onions are good and going, I'll throw in about a handful of kale. Once the kale seems to be pretty simmered down, I will add my 2 eggs. Then I'll leave it covered and it'll cook. I'll flip it. That's when I'll add my sweet potatoes that are already cooked, but I'm just going to heat them up by putting them in the pan with the eggs and the veggies, and putting the lid on will help them heat up. All right. So next up is the protein. So what I have here is some lean ground turkey. I just fry that in a pan with some seasoning, and then I take either the sandwich style or the snack size baggies, and I freeze them unless I know that I'm for sure going to eat them. Or let's say it had to be used by a certain date. I will fry them up like this and then put them in a freezer safe Ziploc bag, so it'll keep them from getting freezer burn. All right, so when they're in the skillet, I like to use Mrs. Dash salt-free seasonings. This one is the garlic herb, this one's onion herb, or just the original blend. There's also a Fiesta lime one that's really good. I like to use those in with my proteins, as well as sometimes on my veggies, just some added flavor without salt or preservatives or whatever else. So for chicken, I like to use a big glass dish and just line it with some chicken. I like to put the frozen chicken in the oven. It works just fine. I cover it with apple cider vinegar and red wine vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is really good for your digestion, so if you can throw a little bit of that in, I think that's a really good thing to do. And then also I just season it with the same seasonings. If you have the time, if you have fresh chicken or unthawed chicken, it would be good to marinate it in this red wine vinegar and the seasonings and the apple cider vinegar so that so it will stay moist through the baking process. But that doesn't always happen, so if it's frozen, I throw it in just the same. If the weather's nice, I really like to grill my chicken or use my George Foreman to grill my chicken. So that's what I'm going to be eating next week, minus my Shakeology, minus my fruit and my nuts. But these are the things that I have prepared for next week. So let me know if you want more information about any of the meals that I made. Comment below if you are going to be joining us.